Spencer, how are you, my friend?
Good time, Drew. That's all I gotta say. It's a good
College
time.
football time.
It is.
Best time of year.
Goodness. Oh my gosh.
I cannot freaking wait. All right, this is episode 1. Episode 1, S&D 50 show.
This is the big
Week
one.
1 preview. It's the inaugural episode. All right, so we're here. Spencer, why are we here?
We're here because polls suck. All polls. That's not true. Actually, I like Josh Pates, but we're here because I don't think polls do enough job of giving teams credit for what they really do on the field. I think it's a lot of just like eye test and vibe check. And just where you were the week before, not necessarily like how well you actually did. So I want to remedy that. I want to make an index, a poll, if you will, the S&D 500, if there were enough teams for that, but it's just the S&D 50, to really show what teams did on the field and give them credit where credit is due. That's what this is about.
I love it. Yeah, so what was it? August 8th. Today is August 9:21 p.m. It was August 8th. You and I have been sickos of college football our whole lives. We've known each other our whole lives. We're cousins. That works out great.
That helps.
We're the ultimate sickos because the night before I got married, what did we play? NCAA 2005
Oh my gosh.
on the GameCube, playing with Mike Hart, Michigan, Chad Henne, Monster Blitz, whatever, Tampa 2. I always play on defense. I run like the same 3 plays. It's like muscle memory.
That was wild, man.
And I haven't played since. I don't play a lot of video games anymore. But
Well, they didn't have college football on any game system for years. It's back now, but I don't have a
baby.
GameCube. It's not GameCube anymore. I don't have any kind of a game system.
Good stuff. That was such a good night playing. Is that Larry Fitzgerald on the cover?
I think so. I think it was. I only had 2. I had 05 and 03, and he was on one of them.
If you have 05, we're good to go. That's ages us a hair, but here we are. Okay, so why we're here, you and I, August 8th, said, okay, we really love college football. We have these takes. We're in the group chats. We're talking all the time. We have opinions about Notre Dame last year, but guess what? Nowhere to save it, and no one knows it exists. And so then we said, let's create value.
And you know what?
If someone's going to listen to us talk, we're going to give you data. We're going to give you analysis. You said it best. Our progenitors should have made us linebackers, but instead they made us nerds. So we will be nerds. We did not play football. Disclaimer. We have never played football.
I played flag football. That's not nothing. No, it is nothing, actually. I take it back.
I played tackle football 1 year, and it resulted in my first game. I had an interception in the end zone, which was great. I only weighed 80 pounds, and I got carried for 40 yards with a running back. I was jumped on his back, and he carried me for 40 yards. I remember the yard lines just rolling past. And,
but you were on defense?
No, yeah, I was a corner. I jumped on his back. The dude had a mustache. I was in 7th grade, and he carried me for 30 yards. I hit the ball out, too. I punched out the ball. This is a fumble. True story. And the ball hits the ground and bounces right back into his arms. I was so disheartened. That's how it is. So anyway, we are not football players, but what we want to do is not tear people down. We don't want to say who stinks. We don't want to get people fired. Our job is to merely inform the sicko, the casual, the bandwagon, where we think teams stand beyond just, like you said, polls. There's so many polls out there. So it's time to unveil. So how it started is we said, okay, let's make an index. We're going to call it the S&D 50. We want 50 teams because the AP 25 poll is not enough teams. There's so much parity in college football. We need more than 25 teams to matter week in and week out. So we set out on re-evaluating the 2024 season. And it involved hours. I can't even quantify how many hours we probably put into this.
Too many.
In the last 3 weeks, we have not slept.
Keep in mind, we both have full-time jobs outside of college football. We don't work in sports media. We're not actually being paid to do this.
No, this is a hobby. Some people golf, other people talk college football. That's us here. We're going to try. And we created this model, and it was so good. We had to buy recording equipment we've never recorded before. Today's the day. We just pulled it out of the box, plugged it into my computer, and here we are. We're ripping it.
Only a few days ahead of you.
That's so good. But here's what happened. We put together this model. Spencer, I want you to explain it. But I'm going to do something. I'm going to show the next graphic.
This is the learning pains.
It is. Okay. Week 15, 2024. When we ran this model, we spit out each week. So we create this index. Spencer's going to explain how it works. But these were our final rankings going into seeding for the college football playoff. And it alarmed us because we were freakishly close and not trying to get this result.
No,
and so
we
as
literally...
a result, that's why we're here right now. This poll this week, we said, oh my gosh, we need to talk about this. This is pretty good. And can it even be replicated? That's what we're going to find out this year. We're going to do it week by week and see how close this thing can go. Okay, take it away, Sue.
Yeah, the important thing to remember about this poll is not predictive, right? We aren't saying that these teams are the, I'll say fourth best team in the land. Hint, hint, wink, wink on that one. But what we are saying is that up to this point, our model thinks they performed like the fourth best team in the land. Our model does a couple of things that are super important. It gives you credit for how the game goes on the field. And I won't get too into the weeds right now.
Get a little bit into the weeds.
A little bit. All right, I'll get a little bit in the weeds. Right now, for most games, when you're a pollster, when you're looking at it, you're only paying attention to the box score, and only the sickos know more, or the deep fans. Only your Boise State fans know that. That's misspelled. Only your Boise State fans know that. What the true strengths of the team are, because no one in the SEC country, no one in SEC country thinks Boise State is the 10th best team in the country. They think the best teams in the country are maybe a few from the Big Ten, and then it's like 8 of the top 15 are the top 8 teams in the SEC, and they might be right. I'll be honest, in any given year they might be right. But the fact of the matter is this: unless you know your team inside and out, you don't really know how they're going to stack up against people. And broadly speaking, we didn't feel like the AP represented that with just vibe checks and moving up or down based on where you were in the poll to begin with. So one thing, this poll was essentially fully agnostic to where we thought a team would be. In fact, this poll gives you no credit for being in a Power 4 conference. Absolutely.
Or being
none.
ranked.
Or being ranked at all. Everything, we tried this a few different ways. We messed with some of the levers that go into this, and we tried to wait things out where we even gave you a boost. If you started in a Power 4 conference, we gave you a little bit of a boost. If you start the season, you're a group of 5 team, we gave you, a little bit of a negative boost, a little bit of a handicap, but the model worked itself out regardless. So we ended up just kind of discarding that. So you get a little bit of credit for the team that you are from last season going into this season. We'll talk about that later. But at the end of the day, this is about how you did on the field. Not just what the box score says either at the end of the game, but how you performed in the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. You're going to get more credit in this model for beating up on good teams than you are for winning close games against good teams. But you're going to get more credit for winning good games against close teams than you are for beating up on bad teams. We account for that. We built this to really account for that.
Yep. Okay, so you're looking at this graphic and you see points and you see this abnormal number of points in the thousands. So let me lay it out for you. We started this poll. We started everyone around the 1,000-point mark.
Yeah, I think our range to start was 50 to 5,000 or something along those lines, unless you're an FCS team, and then you're trash. So
we feathered in some preseason rankings, and then we started. And so what happens is you start at your baseline of points, 5,200, 5,000, whatever it is, and each game you play, what we do is we scrape the game summaries of every single game. So I hand scrape 920 scoring summaries. It's about 12,000 rows of game summaries. Then we put them into weeks. And then Spencer runs an analysis where we create a game scoring system where, depending on how big your lead is and how long you had that lead for, you're awarded points or penalized points if you're behind, by how much and for how long. There's this game rating we have. Once you have a game rating, we need to adjust it, because if you're playing Jacksonville State versus Georgia, you might be playing different levels of competition depending on who you are as a team. So we make adjustments that credit, like Spencer said, if you beat a team you're supposed to beat, not a lot of credit, and that complete game score is not going to give you full credit going into the next week. However, you beat a team that's as good or better than you, you're going to probably get all those points and more And the best part of our index here is we take into account the future performance of the opponents you play. So if those opponents do well and you beat them and they're a good team, they're going to continually boost you on a smoothed out setting. It's not going to be the same amount each week, but essentially what we're going to do is make sure that if you win, you get credit for it, and for a set amount of time, you get credit off those opponents. Obviously, the whole season is not a great way to measure that because teams change, injuries happen, and that's another thing. Our poll is not looking at players or injuries, and so that's why it is purely a static index of where people stand as of the week before or the season before. Do not gamble with this information.
Yeah, no,
we do not know who's injured, and if it's DJ Lagway in Florida, this is not accounted for in there. We're not ranking that.
Nope, and we're not gonna. And that's the thing too, is we won't adjust it based on what we think the teams will do if they play each other. So this does not say that in like a neutral field game or something like that we think Indiana is 30 points. Obviously that's a random scale, but we don't think Indiana is X amount better than Georgia, because I know where I'd bet that game. But the fact of the matter is that Indiana, even despite the weak competition they played through the season, played at the level that got them to be the 4th rated team. And, this speaks for itself. This top 15 from week 15 is, as it's measured, maybe not, doesn't line up with how the calendar measured it, but the 15th weekend where games were played in the season lines up really well with the teams that entered the CFP.
And it makes sense. You have teams like Ole Miss who are crying, like, we got snubbed. And our index shows, yeah, you did. South Carolina said, we deserved a shot. Yeah, you did. And then you see a team like Baylor. And this is the other thing. We don't prep this beforehand. We put together the graphics, and now we're going to talk about it just every week as we can scrape, put together, analyze, and put it out here each week. You see Baylor, and I had to go back. I didn't even remember how Baylor finished. You ready for this? Baylor, 2024, they finished on a 6-game winning streak. They did not lose from October 19th on. They beat at Texas Tech by a lot, 59-35. They won home against Oklahoma State. They beat TCU by 3. They went to West Virginia and won. They went to Houston and won, and then they hosted Kansas and won again, and they won big. And that Kansas team was good. By the end of the year,
Kansas
really
team
good.
Was on a hot streak as well. That Kansas team upset Kansas State. They upset BYU. Effectively ending the playoff chances for either
Colorado.
of those teams. They beat Colorado, upset their long shot playoff hopes. Like the title game in the Big 12, if I remember right, was Arizona State, Iowa State, and it was Arizona State, Iowa State because Baylor knocked out all the other teams. Or not Baylor, Kansas knocked out all the other teams that might have been in it, and then Baylor went and they beat Kansas.
Yep. So that's what's fun, is this index even informs me, a sicko who loves college football. I didn't know Baylor had a 6-game winning streak at the end of the year.
I mean, I don't think Baylor's
that's
a
good
team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but like if you put Baylor, if there have been 2 extra weeks in the season, Baylor's playing hot. If they've got 2 more season games and everyone else does too, they could play their way into a Big 12 title. They even play their way into the playoffs, because there's a little bit of recency bias baked in here, but that's true all the time, right? The team that Baylor was in weeks 1 through 4 isn't the same team that they were in weeks like 10 through 15. It's a different team, and that late season Baylor team probably could go toe to toe with about half of the playoff teams.
And what we really enjoy about this index is because it's not looking at conference, past ranking, the way you started the season, it gives you credit for the wins that you have. And so Baylor getting to 15, where they're not even ranked in the final CFP ranking in the top 25, just shows no one was looking at them and no one was paying attention. And everyone wants to get on the coach's back. I think it's Dave Aranda. Everyone wants to get on Dave Aranda to fire him. Look, they played really well at the end of the year. It should be fun to see them this year. So what we did was we finished all of 2024. We ran through the playoff. We updated the index. And then we created our preseason S&D 50 index for the going into week 0. And do you want to talk about the factors that we used to feather 2024 ending and 2025 starting, Spence?
Yeah, so we decided that you should get some credit for how your team does. And the more that you're carrying forward season over season, the more credit you should get. So we took a baseline where we said, okay, no one's going in Oregon, Ohio State. I want to say that points, and again, this is just an arbitrary scale for everyone out there, but I think Ohio State finished with like 6,800 points or something like that. 68-10, I think, was what they actually finished the season with after winning the title. They went into the playoffs with 64-9. We still, just for truth to the model, we still gave playoff teams rating points to end the season. But we took that, and we said you get a certain percentage of this, and then how much of that percentage of it you end up keeping depends on some factors like who are you returning on the offense, who are you returning on the defense, are you returning your starting quarterback? That was one that we gave a decent amount away, and your coach too. Coach tenure really matters. Now, for a lot of your big teams, there wasn't a lot of turnover. Wasn't a big coaching carousel in the offseason. So a lot of the teams got credit for that. But a big difference maker is how many of your starters carry forward. If you carried over the
more than 6
majority of your starters on one side of the ball, then you got to keep more points from last season. We debated. Actually, Andrew and I went in and we debated for a long time how we want to do this. We proposed a system where, you chop your points into pieces, and if someone transfers from Baylor to South Carolina and they're a starter, their percentage of points or how many rating points we think that they're worth carries over to South Carolina and gives them a boost, versus just like losing your starter and replacing them with a freshman or someone who hasn't played more than a handful of minutes. But, maybe in the future we'll get that sick with this, but
we can get into the weeds. But yes, we just said, do we have more than half your starters returning on offense, half your starters returning on defense, starting quarterback and coach? We gave weights. We took the previous year's index score to start, and then we've rolled out these new top 50 in the index.
We did one other thing though too, and this is the only time that we care what conference you're in, which is that we also adjusted it depending on, not strictly speaking what conference you're in, but how hard your schedule is going to be this season, based on how all of those teams, how all of their adjusted ratings. So after we adjusted their final season rating and adjusted it for how many players are carrying forward into the current season, we took those adjusted ratings and we took a look and said, okay, for somebody like Georgia, they're going to play a considerably harder schedule than somebody like Boise State, just looking at the 5 and 10 here in the week 15 slide. So there was an additional adjustment that made where Georgia got a boost because of the quality of opponent that we expect them to play. It's the only forward-facing piece of our model, full stop. The rest of the model is all just based on how you did on the field last season, and starting week 1, it's going to be how you do on the field this year.
And what we love is that it makes every game matter, every minute matter, every point matter. Whether you're Western Kentucky playing Toledo or you're Georgia playing Texas, the model cares, it matters. And guess what? These index points are so close. You look at the SMU Arizona State points differential, so slim that if you both played Western Kentucky, it matters how they play. It really does. And how you beat them matters. And that should matter, because in a sport where no one plays everyone, this isn't the NFL, this isn't the NBA, we don't get a true visual of an example of who played who. We have to create something between a CFP committee and a BCS computer system to show how teams have performed throughout the year, because it's just such a vast sport.
Yeah,
this thing I'll say
may not even work for like the NBA or the NFL, right?
No, we don't know. But what we want to do is try to help college have some clarity on who's competitive, what's going to be competitive potentially, depending on how
and
teams are.
And not only who's competitive at the top, but who's competitive at like 30 to 60 or 60 to 100.
Agreed.
Like, yeah,
Agreed.
If you're a big-time Temple fan, no one's talking about you. But guess what? We know how good you are. We know where you should fit on this scale. And we can tell you how much better or worse you are than the opponent you're playing this next week. It's all in here.
Well, and there's two things. One, you look at this seeding. If we would have, say we would have ranked the CFP with our poll, if we were just so special that they'd use our index. What's a shame is we never got to see Oregon, Ohio State further down the line. Quarterfinal round, they play. Notre Dame, Indiana played in the play-in portion. It's a shame. Georgia had to play Texas. We just didn't get any splitting, and everyone knew, anyone who's watched college football knows that the seeding was a problem last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's obvious. It doesn't need to be discussed here, and Doesn't matter. But the point is, we want to see the best teams play each other. And this index, I believe, shows that, at least in some aspect. Like we talked about that Indiana Georgia flip flop. It can be discussed because Indiana's schedule was really soft. We don't know. We don't know. But then again, they lost semi close to Notre Dame in that playoff game. And then it was over, but Notre Dame made it to the final. So maybe they were good. We don't know.
We honestly thought, I remember at the time thinking Notre Dame, Indiana, Notre Dame had, I would say, a good control of that game. I got to tell you exactly, I could tell you exactly how many points they got for it. But at the end of the day, it was much more competitive than, the Indiana-Ohio State game in the regular season. But we thought that both of those teams would get creamed by Georgia. We thought the winner of that game was going to lose to Georgia. Just my gut said that. And Notre Dame came out there, and man, I don't think Georgia had a shot in that game the whole time.
Carson Beck going down did help.
Yeah, or hurt, I guess.
Yeah, correct. But hey, that's where we're at. And I will also say that Arizona State is a team on here that is the poster child for this index, because I don't know what week it was. Was it 9 or 10 of the season? They were down in the mid 90s of the index. But as soon as they beat Kansas State, they started rocketing up.
I can tell you, it was week 10. And again, as we had to measure this, putting it together, that means the 10th weekend of the season. So I think it was actually like week 9 of the college football calendar. But in week 10, I have to scroll. Oh my gosh, I have to scroll so far down to find them. Arizona State in week 10 was 55th in our index. They wouldn't, if we were doing this last season, they wouldn't have even made the S&D top 50. They wouldn't have been in the S&D 50.
And there's only 6 weeks left to play at the time. So they're down and out. There's no way. They're dead to playoff hopes.
And yet...
And where did they jump to after they beat Kansas State that week, which I think is who they played?
I mean, that week they jumped from 55 to 49. I think it was a couple weeks later. By 3 weeks after their low point at 55, they had jumped all the way up to 22. Most of that on the back of that Kansas State game. The week and before, BYU, what we're looking at on the screen, I think that week they beat BYU, they got to 14th.
Crazy.
In the poll.
And the other example is Notre Dame. So last year, Notre Dame, I think when they lost to NIU, they dropped down to 16 in the AP poll. In our poll, they fell far lower than that. I think it was 42 was the bottom out. And then they had to crawl their way back up week by week. But to me, that just feels more fair. If you're going to lose to NIU at home early on in the season, there should be punishment. But if you run the table and go undefeated the rest of the way, you should be rewarded. And this is why we are here, showing this index, why it matters to you. And we hope it matters all year. And we hope you come here to get the scoop. So whether you're a casual, you want to talk to your sports-loving spouse about the up-and-coming teams, we're the spot. If you're a sicko and you want to get into the weeds about Baylor having a shot in the Big 12 title race this year, we're your guys. So this is where we're at. So we're going to unveil teams. We're going to start at 50, and we're going to work our way to... You ready?
Wait, I can't wait to hear the takes that people have on this, because it's going to be madness. I mean, I'll be honest, no one's going to comment on our video, but if they do, it's going to be
Dad,
madness.
if you're listening, please drop a comment.
All right, well, you got to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Miami at 41.
Yeah, let's go through it. We're gonna. Well, I'll say the rankings, and then I want you to hear your thoughts, Spencer. So at 50, we have Purdue. They're up 64 spots from their final 2024 ranking. 49 is UCLA. They're up 20 spots. Memphis at 48. They are down 25 spots from where they finished in 2024. Michigan State at 47. Northwestern at 46, Kentucky at 45, Washington at 44, Rutgers at 43, Kansas State at 42, and Miami, Florida, the Hurricanes at 41.
I mean, Kansas State's coming out, I think, is the favorite in a lot of the Big 12 polls.
They're in there. They're in the race between them, Iowa State, Utah, TCU. But we have them at 42.
I love Purdue at 50, by the way.
They were a bottom feeder last year. Bottom of the bottom of the bottom feeder. 1-11.
This is one of the quirks of how this came together. Is they get a bit of a boost, 64 spots, for playing a Big Ten schedule to start the season.
Will they remain there? We will see.
They won't. I'll tell you that now.
I love it. Okay, next.
Give me those 10. Let's see it. Kidding, I already know what they are.
Okay, we have Kansas at 40, Auburn at 39, Boston College at 38, Georgia Tech at 37, Texas Tech at 36, Nebraska at 35, Iowa at 34, Minnesota at 33, Syracuse at 32, Duke at 31. Thoughts?
This is where you start seeing some of the benefit come through if you carry people forward from last season. You get a little bit of a nod to say, you know what, we think some of that talent's worth something. At the same time, Duke, untested quarterback, right? I mean, not untested. He did well at Tulane, right? But in the system, in the ACC, and dare I say, the fourth best league in the land, which is a take unto itself, but I stand by it.
Yep, Duke at 31 is quite spicy here. What I do love is Iowa. Iowa, as we all know, everyone jokes that Iowa can't score, but now they have a quarterback. They have a great quarterback transfer, once again unproven, hence why they're 34. But Iowa's a team to watch here. I'm really curious to see how Texas Tech does, because everyone and anyone knows that Texas Tech has spent the money to dominate. And so they sit here at 36 because they're unproven, because they're not returning the same players. But a lot of people say, hey, this team might win the Big 12, and we'll see.
The Big 12 is wide open. I mean,
Wide open.
It's America's conference. Like, let's be real. And it is wide open for a reason, but I think Texas Tech, dark horse, underdog, I don't know what the right term is at this point in the season that hasn't even started yet, but I think Texas Tech could give, all the teams that we're going to see ahead of them a run for their money.
My sleeper is Utah this year. Utah didn't crack the 50 index. They're just outside, I think, at 62. What I love about Utah is they're always competitive. Last year was an anomaly. Didn't have good quarterback play. But if this New Mexico transfer quarterback is as good as everyone believes he will be, I think we'll see Utah here very shortly.
Yeah, Utah's one of those cases where I think the poll got it right. The AP poll has them just outside of the top 25. In fact, they've got that rivalry, BYU and Utah, as 26 and 27 as you stand there, and the AP's got Boise at 25, trying to get that Utah-Idaho combo in the mix, I guess. But I think Utah's scary. But Texas Tech, man, they've got money, and they were not afraid to use it this year.
Great. Okay, here we go. Teams 30 through 21. USC at 30, Oklahoma at 29, Texas A&M at 28, Louisville at 27, BYU 26, Vanderbilt 25, Indiana 24, Boise State 23, Michigan 22, SMU 21.
I think Louisville is a scary team in the ACC. They were arguably the hottest team to end the season last year. They bring back some excellent players from last year. I think Louisville is a team to watch. I like the drop for Indiana. I think year 2 of James Madison Sr., I think we'll see
Kurt Signetti. Coach Sig.
I think we'll see how it all pans out. Vandy was a surprise. Like we said, we're not massaging the model to try and get specific people up or down to make it seem how we think it should be. So Vandy coming in at 25 was a surprise to me, but we'll see how they fare against that SEC schedule.
They were not to me, because you have Diego Pavia coming back, so you have returning quarterback play. They beat Alabama. They were competitive against Texas. It's a good team. It's a really good team. To me, if you would have told me last year that you would have Indiana and Vanderbilt ahead of USC, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M, people would have lost their minds. They would have lost their minds. Or just behind Michigan. Michigan coming off a national title, a hair in front of Boise State, Indiana, and Vanderbilt. It's great stuff. It's really good stuff.
Wait, am I out of my mind? Do we literally have Michigan and Ohio State back-to-back titles?
Mm-hmm. We do.
I don't know why that never registered to me until, I kid you not, just now.
The SEC faithful are just clamoring for a title. They're sick of this Big Ten.
Hey,
Big Ten dominance.
I won't give away where, but I got some SEC country surrounding me right now, so don't say that too loud.
There you go. Okay, next ones. 20 through 11. Arkansas at 20, TCU 19, Iowa State 18, Georgia 17, Alabama 16, Oregon 15, South Carolina 14, Ole Miss 13, Missouri 12, Baylor 11. This is our index.
I think it's worth noting here that you're going to have teams in this index as we do it now, where when you move on to the NFL, we are not assuming that the person to backfill you is also going to be NFL quality talent, right? So you got a team like Georgia that's going to turn over a lot of players every year to the NFL. I mean, that means that the team that comes in next place, the team Kirby Smart fields this year, is not going to start as high as they would if they returned all those starters. Now they are going to have ample opportunities to prove themselves, just like anyone else in this rating. You know, if we looked at the starting ratings from last year, I think only half of the playoff teams were in playoff range. But you are definitely going to see Georgia have chances to prove itself. But I don't hate them starting at 17.
Here comes sneaky Baylor. Baylor at 11. Baylor at 11. No one's thinking about Baylor unless you live in Waco, Texas. I'm sorry. No one's yelling, woo, sick 'em. They're not, but they should be. They should be. Baylor finished strong. They're returning a lot of their team. I'm excited. Missouri has the dream SEC schedule. Florida wishes they had Missouri's schedule. If you want to pull up Missouri's schedule, Spence, I want you to read it off and then read it in comparison to Florida's. It's insane. Yes. Then you have Ole Miss, South Carolina. Those three teams, those are teams in the SEC that we have not talked about until recently, but now they're in the mix. South Carolina is everyone's sneaky favorite. You have so much hype around Lenora Sellers and all that he can do at South Carolina at quarterback. People in breathy tones are saying Cam Newton, but that's very scary, so we're not going to say that. Yeah, but they believe it.
They believe it. So South Carolina goes to Missouri, but Missouri's away game. I'm not going to go in order here.
No, read me all Missouri in order. Read me Missouri in order.
I mean, you got Central Arkansas. It's going to be a tough one. You get Kansas in week 2.
Not a gimme.
Not a gimme. I mean, we saw Kansas at 40 to start the year, but Kansas played really hot at the end of the season. You know, they may not be returning all their talent. They're returning enough to be scary. But that's a home game for Missouri. That's a rival game at home. Then they play the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana, at home. Then they play South Carolina at home. Then they play UMass at home. Then they play Alabama at home. They don't have a true road game until October 18th at Auburn.
My favorite joke I've heard, I think it was Josh Pate. He said that Missouri will not leave their campus until people have Halloween decorations up. I love it.
Well, hey, I was at my local Walmart tonight and they already have Halloween stuff, so it's coming faster than I'm ready for.
Well, there you go. That's fair.
Then after that, they would play at Vanderbilt, host Texas A&M. That's not a neutral game like that A&M Arkansas series, right? That's a home and away.
I believe so.
So host, you can tell we're big Missouri fans. We know all about it. Host A&M, host Mississippi State, and then they finish with road games at Oklahoma, at Arkansas. That Missouri-Arkansas game, if both of those teams live up to their potential, that Missouri at Arkansas game to end the season, that's going to be your college game day or your big noon kickoff. That's going to be a big-time top 10 matchup if both of these teams can really live up to their own fan base's hype.
But if I'm right, there is no Florida, no Georgia, no Texas.
Nope, none of those teams. The only teams in the AP Top 25, the only ranked teams they play are South Carolina, Alabama.
Who will be good? Both those will be good.
Texas A&M and Oklahoma.
Yep. I do think we should do an Alabama second right here. Emma, dominant forever. Kalen DeBoer comes in a year ago. Doesn't go as well as people hoped. But now you have a new quarterback. Jalen Milroe's gone. And so the question now is, are you going to get the quarterback play? Are you going to get the Alabama of old back? You see him at 16. It's low. I'm sure they're much higher in the AP. I don't remember where they got.
8, I believe.
Yep. We have them a little lower, and they're going to have to prove it. But if they do, they're going to jump up. And I also think back to the Missouri point. Missouri will be high in this index if they play up to their potential, because they're going to be, if they can beat the few that are there, that South Carolina game, they're going to be up there for a while. So I'm prepared to see Missouri a lot.
Yeah, but again, like Alabama, Alabama actually, for most of the season, was really, really liked by our model. When for last season, when we went through, I mean, they were going into that game against Oklahoma that they just kind of atrociously
Lost
fumbled. They were the fourth highest rated team behind
in the index.
a Big Ten trifecta. But they were the highest rated SEC team ahead of Texas, everyone else. They were number
Love it.
4. The only teams they were behind were Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. Ohio State and Indiana hadn't played at that point yet, and so Indiana was untested but had been dominant. And then Oregon was Oregon. We knew Oregon was good, but then it was Alabama. Despite the fact that before they lost, they played Oklahoma, I think they had lost once or twice. Like Alabama played really good teams really well.
Yeah,
do it again this year.
and everyone wants to hit the panic button. They lost to Michigan in the bowl game, right? Mm-hmm. But it does make you think, oh, if you had won a couple more of those games, we remember the LSU blowout, right? No contest blowout at LSU, night game, game day, Pat McAfee on a desk, shirtless, doing his thing, and they get boat raced, absolutely boat raced in that game by Alabama. Alabama was good. They were good. And I love that this index is giving them credit, but also saying, let's calm down until we see it, right?
Had they beat Michigan, because bowl games were included in those final ratings that influenced the preseason, had they beat Michigan, they're a top 10 rated team to start this season for sure.
In our index? Yep. Oregon. I want to talk Oregon. We have a Dan Lanning lover who may join the show. In Dan he loves, and Dan he trusts. Here's the deal. Oregon, I think they're a little too high right now, but again, I'm not an insider. We don't go to camps. We don't go to media days. We don't do any of the intel. We're merely putting together last year's
mere mortals over here,
skimming off the top the information we can get here. But I am curious to watch Oregon. I think they could do really well or really poorly. I was listening to something today about their schedule. Their schedule's tough. I think they go to Penn State. That will be a tough one.
They go to Penn State in September, no less. Like, we're barely out the gates, and they have to play in Happy Valley.
With a new quarterback who's unproven, not a 7th-year starter with COVID,
My gosh, I forgot that was so long. Is he even going to start in the NFL?
I don't know.
We're
not an NFL podcast, but that's the Dylan Gabriel problem is its own thing with
Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders.
That's a problem.
I am not an NFL fan in general. I live and breathe college football. I care a little bit about that quarterback contest. I don't know why. It's fun.
A good one. It's a good one. Oh, lastly here, I do want to talk about Iowa State, TCU, Baylor here. It just is showing how competitive the Big 12 is going to be, because in the top 20 of our index, you see 3 of these teams. Not very many people are talking about TCU. They return the same quarterback. They return a lot of their team. That's why you see them up 8 spots. I think they're going to be really good.
Right. The thing about these Big 12 teams is any of these teams could get real streaky. Any of these teams could go on a tear where they're winning the games they should win and they're winning the games they shouldn't. But the problem is, you'll get some love for those wins. And while this isn't like a win rating model, it really does evaluate how well you get those wins, but you get some credit for winning and you lose credit for losing. Those streaks can come to hard stops, and we'll see how the Big 12 plays out. If they don't have anyone who's really streaky, it'll be interesting to see how our model handles that, to see if teams are trading blows at intervals pretty regularly. And the worst case scenario for the Big 12 is your champion's a 3-loss team.
I'm so
see
excited.
If that pans out.
When we start talking about actual games, I'm like, getting giddy. So giddy. Let's go. Saturdays. Small aside, I'll pull up these next rankings right here before we get into it. Here's our top 10. I don't believe in doing chores.
The gasps from the 3 people that look at this.
Hey, Dad. Before we reveal the top 10, laundry. Today was laundry day. I don't believe in doing chores on Saturday. I'm almost Seventh-day Adventist about protecting my Saturdays. I do all my chores spread out throughout the week, so I do not have to do anything on Saturday, whether it's college football season or not. It's a true thing, truly. I spread out bathrooms Monday. Tuesday, yard. Wednesday, laundry. Thursday, order groceries. Friday, all your errands. Saturday, you rest. Rest from your labors.
And you rest by watching college football.
College football. All right, so here we are. Top 10. Top 10. Here we go. 10
Start
LSU.
with the elephant. Okay, read it, and then we'll talk about the elephant in the room.
10 LSU.
A very orange.
Down
elephant.
one spot. LSU down one spot from the 2024 final rankings. Arizona State at 9, up 7 spots. Clemson at 8, Tennessee at 7, Florida at 6, gasps. Texas at 5, Notre Dame at 4, another gasp. Penn State at 3, gasp. Illinois at 2, burn the house down. Start the fires. Start the fires. People are tiptoeing around. Illinois has a high ceiling. They are. In this index, we believe that Illinois has a very, very high ceiling according to how they performed last year and what they returned this year. And at number 1, you have Ohio State.
Not surprising to anyone. But
Okay,
again,
where do you want to take it? Where do you want to start?
should we start with Illinois? Illinois, man. Illinois, I think, is to the Big Ten, not what Indiana was last year, but what Penn State was last year. I think Illinois is going to come out of the gate swinging, and I think they're going to be a test no one wants.
Well, who'd they beat at the end of the year in that bowl game?
Don't ask me questions that are too hard.
South Carolina. There was almost a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Bielema, Brett Bielema, and
How can
Shane.
I forget that? Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
And Shane Beamer almost exchanging blows over, I don't know, was it a
what
fake
I would
injury?
pay for that to
The
be a
whole
playoff
thing.
game at the end of the season. Oh my word.
It'd be so good. I want to see it back here. But yeah, Illinois, no one, it's not, if you're a casual, you haven't been paying attention. We don't always pay attention. This is why we make the index. Illinois is why we make this index. We're telling you on August 20th, not a single game has been played, not a point has been scored. They are a team to be reckoned with. Will they live up to the hype? Who knows? Can they perform under pressure with expectation? We always say in the Big 12, once you have expectations, you crumble. So we don't know if that's going to be the case with Illinois, but they're up there. They have the returning talent. We don't know about the depth. This doesn't take into account their depth, but they have a shot.
Yeah, you'll notice it's a pretty top-heavy Big Ten poll, but you know, that's pretty much in line with everyone's expectations, in part because that's how last season went. Last season had, you'd had some SEC teams kind of switch out with them, Georgia or Texas for most of the season, Alabama for parts of it, but you always kind of had that Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State trifecta hanging out at the top. Oregon's in there in the mix this year. They're a little farther behind, but I could really see Ohio State, Illinois, Penn State hanging out. Now, it's worth noting that Illinois on their schedule, September 20th, at Indiana.
Big one. Hey, we would have laughed. Wait, hold. 2 years ago, people would have said Illinois, Indiana, big game. No one's paying attention or turning it on.
It's gonna be one. My hot take is that I don't think Indiana's gonna pan out as well this year as they did last year. I think they had some really special cohesion that, coming over from James Madison, a lot of those players, a lot of that system and the staff. I think Indiana's gonna have I don't know if call it a sophomore slump, but I think that's what Indiana's gonna go through this year. Just personal take, could be totally wrong, but they have to play at Indiana on the 20th, and then they get to host Ohio State on October 11th, and other than those two games, they host Western Illinois. They play at Duke. Could be tricky, but I see Illinois taking it. They host Western Michigan. They host USC. They go to Purdue. All of those mixed in with Indiana, and then you get Ohio State. I think that game on October 11th.
Huge.
It's going to be big.
Huge.
And
is it at Ohio State?
It is at Illinois. But the thing is, the Big Ten, like, you could have that repeat in the conference championship game.
You could. Well, you might not. My hunch is if you have this tight 3 bunch at the top, Penn State then would be taking the loser's spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, because Penn State and Illinois don't play. But Ohio State has to play both Illinois and Penn State. They also have to play at Michigan, which is the big house. It's not going to be an easy place to play. But those are going to be their 3 toughest games of the year. Texas, I guess. 3 toughest conference games of the year, I should say, because that Texas game. We'll get there. Well,
let's jump right to Texas right there. Texas at 5. Gasp. Oh my goodness, why are they so low? We don't know what Arch Manning is. The model, this index, our model does not know how good Arch Manning is. He could be the guy.
The
The
ceiling
one.
is,
It's
I don't
so
know if there
high.
is a ceiling. I don't know if there is a ceiling for Arch Manning.
We don't know. And so that's why, as of today, they're at 5. People can be mad. That's fair. But we need to see it, and we're gonna see it real early, real quick. And here's what's great: this index is gonna reward a team with 54-38 playing 53-48 in points. You're gonna get all the points. However this goes, you're getting all the points. I can tell you right now, the model's gonna award
You're
full
going to get a
points.
lot of love for these big time wins. Whichever, in fact,
Week
I would be
1.
shocked. I think the team that wins that game will not only have the number 1 spot in our model, but will probably have it pretty locked up for a while because they're gonna
Boost,
rest on
boost,
those
boost.
laurels. So that's the thing is
Yep.
if you get a big win, not only do you get credit for that win, but until you prove us otherwise by losing, you get to hang on to that credit. Now if you have I think about last season and Georgia Tech, Florida State opening up, and that was a good game. That was a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked away from that game thinking like, oh my gosh, is Georgia Tech legit? And then we learned, no, like they're fine. Georgia Tech.
I mean, they beat Miami and they took Georgia to 7
like
overtimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good, and they're
were good,
sneaky this year.
But they were fine good. They were not playoff
Yes,
good.
yes, correct.
And we thought that they could be playoff good until we learned that Florida State was, I don't know, FCS caliber last year. Not in terms
I think they
of player
finished.
quality.
They finished low at like 129 in the index at last year after being snubbed of a playoff spot the year before. That's crazy.
Yeah, so you're gonna have situations like that where it's gonna
It's gonna be great. Okay, Florida at 6. This is if people haven't been paying attention, if all you read are headlines, you only hear DJ Lagway hurt, Billy Napier on the hot seat. How long can this last? Florida, my friends, Florida. Do not sleep on Florida. Their schedule is horrible. It's one of the toughest there is. The record won't show it, but by golly, I hope the index continues to give them credit because they have a heck of a team returning. They have a lot of talent. They beat LSU. They beat Ole Miss. They were good towards the end of the year. They were competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They are a force, but they are going to be tried and tried and tried this year. There is no break.
Florida was to the SEC at the end of last season what Kansas was to the Big 12.
You did not want to play them.
No one wanted to play them. They were on a crazy hot streak, and then they were spoiling people's not just playoffs, but just conference title game hopes left and right. Right? There were all these like
Yep.
the
LSU, Ole
walkthrough
Miss.
scenarios. Where you're saying like, well, if this game falls this way, then tiebreaker goes to Ole Miss or something. Nope, didn't win. Lost to Florida.
Yep. Florida, baby. Florida. Okay. Tennessee, 7. Without Nico, again, Nico, we don't know how good Nico is. We're going to find out with him at UCLA. But you have a new quarterback. We will all wait and tentatively watch Tennessee.
Tennessee is the mystery to me. And this is one of those instances, I think, obviously, where we have instances where someone is lower on our ratings than they are in the poll. The inverse has to be true. So this is one of those. AP poll, final preseason poll, has them at 24, 1 spot above Boise State, 1 spot behind Texas Tech, right? We have Texas Tech quite a bit lower in the ratings, but we have Tennessee quite a bit higher. And, this is right there with Vandy where it surprised me where this team landed. I would have thought both of those would be quite a bit lower.
It does show that the SEC will be competitive this year. Needless to say.
I think the SEC is, they say things
a
like
bear.
It just means
a
more.
bear to get
like
through
that,
this
right?
year.
That could be true. It could be true. Far be it from me to actually say what it means. But, the Big Ten, I think if you're going to look at just the top teams, I think the Big Ten still has a stranglehold on that for now. But the SEC, top to bottom, oof,
Problem.
I wouldn't want to coach Vanderbilt in that conference.
You know who you want to be? Missouri. You'll want to be Missouri.
That's
you
true.
do not want to be Florida this year.
Which
so
is
rough.
staggering to me that the brains behind those schedules. I'll tell you what, building this model, crazy fun. Am I going to keep doing this forever? We're totally going to keep doing it forever, regardless of how many people don't watch the show, which is most of the people, right?
No people will.
But you know what? I would do better at scheduling the SEC than whoever they have in charge. And part of it's because
they need an index. They need this index.
They need this index. I don't, I would be bad from a business sense because I'm not going to I don't have like the metric of like, make me the schedule that's going to sell the most tickets. Well, of course you don't want Missouri playing anyone, right? You're
That's
not
right.
going to move tickets to that game. No hate, Missouri fans. I actually lived in Columbia as a kid. But yeah, it just,
But
who
this
cares?
is why the index exists. This is why the index exists, because you have Floridas and you have Missouris, and how do you quantify them when the wins and losses is all you measure the sport by? This is why it needs to happen. This is why this fills the space. This is why if no one who is listening, no one's listening, if there is a one soul out there listening, this is why it matters and why you should be paying attention to these numbers, because guess what? Florida matters. They're
Florida
gonna be
matters.
8-4. They're gonna be 7-5. They might even be 6-6. They're gonna be a far cry better of a 6-6 team than other 6-6 teams in college football. Okay, Clemson at 8.
The ACC, man, is a mystery to me. I feel I stand by what I said before. I don't care that Clemson is the highest rated ACC team, is higher rated than Arizona State as the highest rated Big 12 team. I think the ACC is a dumpster fire. Not quite a dumpster fire, but pretty close.
But top heavy. If you have SMU, who's just a hair back from Clemson, and then you have Louisville, who you said is your sleeper, those three at the top, they're going to be fighting for it.
Yeah. I mean,
and the bottom is the bottom. We don't know. A Cal, I was listening to another podcast today. They were talking about Cal starting quarterback being named. I mean, that's sicko stuff.
Did we know?
No,
did we
don't
know
know
that
who
they
it is.
had it?
No, wouldn't have thought. It didn't cross my mind till someone mentioned it.
Teams that still have yet to name a starting quarterback that matter. There are none. Like, look at this top 10. They're set. We're good.
Well, except there is one on here, and we've left them out till just now. Notre Dame, quarterback controversy. That's the one today. The one they've named C.J. Carr.
Mm-hmm.
He got named the starter, but word on the street, we're not intel. We're just regurgitating intel of intel. C.J. Carr did not play as well in practice as the other guy. I don't know his name. Sorry. But that's the problem. I think you're going to have two quarterbacks playing at Notre Dame for a second. So I don't know if you can pull up their schedule.
Am I insane?
It's
or
going to be
has this happened before? The two quarterback situation at Notre Dame. I feel like this happened before.
Well, you had the transfer from Wake Forest a couple years ago with the great hair. And then last year you had Riley Leonard from Duke.
Yeah. All right. Well, they open up the Aflac kickoff on not this Sunday but next against Miami. And then they host A&M. And
that Miami game. Wait, Miami. Hold the horses right there. That one might be a big game, but again, this index doesn't show it, and we aren't going to preview it as a big game because we don't know.
We'll give it a little nod that it's happening, but at the end of the day, yes. Like the implied the implied rating difference between those two teams is pretty big. I mean, Miami, Florida was at risk of not even making the S&D 50.
Okay, continue on with the schedule.
You got a stretch there where you host Purdue, and then you have to travel down to Fayetteville, play Arkansas. You know, that's not a game I want. Arkansas is not
early on.
Play.
They're in this index.
Yeah.
They're high up in this index, like 20, right?
Yeah, I think they're 20th. Then they host Boise State. That's a trip hazard. Then they host NC State, which is a middle-of-the-road ACC team. Maybe, I guess.
Low index team.
Then you got your USC game. You go to Boston College. You host Navy. You go to Pitt. You host Syracuse. And then you go to Stanford. The back half of the year, that's where Notre Dame has the chance to really rack up points. But if they can't make it through the front half, they're going to have too long of a distance to go. And they're not going to be able to catch back up to playoff teams.
Well, and it reminds me of SMU last year because SMU had that really tight game week 1 or week 0 at Nevada. And it was close. And we see that SMU's 11, right? And so that, I mean, you're like, okay, if you're in a quarterback battle, you can be returning rating 4 talent.
Right, because SMU went and then they lost a game to BYU where I don't think they scored an offensive touchdown. I think no one did in that game. I think it was all field goals.
And here's the deal, we didn't know how good BYU was at the time. So again, everyone thought SMU wasn't that good.
And then they switched up their quarterback and they went on a tear.
Mm-hmm.
BYU in the meantime went on a tear, got all the way up to, somewhere in the top 10 in in the
Index.
rankings before they lost a blue game to Kansas. I won't forget Kansas just ruining everyone's hopes and dreams in the Big 12. It's my favorite thing that happens in that conference. But yeah,
But yes, if you lose in the beginning of the year, if you're Notre Dame and you lose in the beginning of the year, you have a problem. And it could be because you're trying to decide quarterback. So,
yeah.
something to watch.
But all hope is not lost. They lost early in the year last season, but they managed to come back in dominant fashion. But this year, I'd say they got a tougher schedule. Who in their right minds possessed them to schedule Boise State? I mean, that's like going out and trying to schedule. I'll live, like I'll die on this hill. Boise State is the Gonzaga of college football.
There you go.
Like they are consistently to be discussed with top teams. They can recruit top talent. I would say Boise State is almost always at the least a top 20 team, no matter which way you cut it. Despite the fact that they play a weak schedule, I would never want to play them in the postseason. Never. Because, like, you could blow them out, or you could just get completely surprised and taken off guard and end up down. Or you could have them beat you in comeback style like in the old days. Like, I wouldn't want to play Boise State.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so what we're going to do every week is we are going to do a preseason conference index, and we're going to show the average points spread across each conference. There's not a lot of change because we are only pulling over preseason rankings compared to 2024 rankings, but here we are.
And that American Sun Belt change, I mean, that's a 6-point difference in the averages of those teams.
But the importance of showing this, you have SEC at 1, Big 10 at 2, Big 12 at 3, ACC 4, American 5, Sun Belt 6, MAC at 7, Mountain West at 8, Conference USA at 9. What I like about this is you have at the top, the SEC is 5,200 on average with their preseason index average score across all teams. At the bottom, Conference USA, 48-47. There is high levels of competition in college football. I know that we get lost in the top 25, but it matters. It all matters.
Yeah. The gaps, though, the gaps are real. I mean, there's about a 150-point gap between the SEC and the ACC. But then then you have another almost 100 points before you hit a group of 5 league. And then from the top of the group of 5 to the bottom of the group of 5 is about another 150, 130 points. Like, you know, the divide is there. The divide is real. And you'll see that play out in how the teams perform over the course of the year. But the parity is also there. And the parity is also real. And you're going to have conferences like the Mountain West that are really bottom heavy. You got some really bad teams in the Mountain West, but if they can turn around and be good, they could be really good. We'll see the Pac-12 will make a comeback next year in terms of just existing, but we'll see where they land. I don't know that the Pac-12 will be in that top, like in that range of scores to be a top 5 conference. I think the new look Pac-12 just won't be there.
Right. And when I look at this index, what I note is we often don't think of the MAC or the Sun Belt or the American as legitimate conferences, but we should. We really should, because they are just as competitive as the Mountain West on average. Granted, the bottom heavy pieces like we talked about, but those top teams in those conferences are not teams to be trifled with. They'll come after you. If you're Tulane, your Army of last year, your Jacksonville State, you're any of those teams, you're James Madison of a few years ago, shout out Indiana now, you're good. You're good, and you should be feared.
Yeah, I think there's some mean teams that could come out of those group of 5 conferences. What I'm really curious to see is where does the gap close, not just in the plus minus on the ranking or the rating or ranking, but where the actual points are. Like, how close do we see that SEC Big 10 get right now? Right now, they're only separated by 50 points. Where does that go to?
Well, and it's fun to look at this because it's easy to say, well, in these playoff negotiations, the SEC and Big Ten, they have all the weight. But really, how good are they? According to our index, they are better. Significantly better. They have weight to throw around in these negotiations, so they should be taken seriously, as proven by an unbiased model that doesn't take into account conference allegiance.
Yeah, we're taking the model and we're putting it back together by conference, but what conference you're in has zero impact on the model.
Right. Okay, so now, after we review the index each week, the conference index each week, Now we get into games to watch. This is what you came for. Maybe the one person watching skipped to this point. It's Saturday, it's Friday, it's Thursday, it's the day. What are we watching and how do we measure what to watch? We are merely taking our index rating for that week and we're choosing a difference that's low. In week 0, there's not a lot of games and there's not a lot of competitiveness. So we picked 25 and under as a differential that you should watch. But in week 1, we picked anything, I think 15 and under. We'll see if I can remember. But these are our two thoughts.
I mean, just the fact that our 18th rated team and our 42nd rated team only have a point difference on our scale of 24 points.
Or rating difference of 24.
A rating difference of 24. Like, my brain isn't braining right now.
No, you're good.
No, I mean, this is the closest of almost any game because there's basically no games happening. But I think Iowa State Kansas State is a scary game. I think that
it is. It's the Georgia Tech Florida State example you gave last year.
Yeah.
It's in Ireland. It's week 0. No one's ready. There's not a lot of time to prep.
Week and I completely forgot they're playing in
It's
Ireland.
a conference game. It matters. Again, we're talking about this America's Conference, the Big 12, and you have to start out week 0 with a conference game. It's anyone's game. The index here, it is neutral. We don't know. It's chaos. This is why we do an index. It's why we let it sort itself out. But starting out, if you had to choose on this index, supposedly, Hawaii and Stanford is going to be a more competitive game than Kansas State, Iowa State. That's a shocker. So if anyone's up at 7:30 Eastern this Saturday, give it a peek if you're bored.
Now, in terms of competitiveness, it is worth noting here that while they're only separated by 20, if we look at what the actual ratings are, it's really interesting to see where that falls. The point differential, like on our scale where it's like in thousands.
For the index,
is less than 100 points are separating those teams versus that 18 to 42 gap. I'm pulling that up right now. It's actually a bigger gap. We would expect that game to be less competitive than we would expect Stanford and Hawaii to be.
Great. Yeah, every point matters, especially as you get closer to the top of this index. So that's week 0. There's not a lot to watch, but guess what? If you've been starved all off season like we have, you're going to tune in. You're watching the Ireland game at noon.
There's something.
No question.
It's more than nothing.
It's better than nothing. Okay, week 1, I have 2 sets. We have the pre-Saturday menu and the Saturday menu. So this is the Thursday through Friday menu of what to watch. Again, this was a rating differential. So this is the index rating. So they're the rank they sit at. Difference of 17 or less of all games played between Thursday and Friday. We have East Carolina and NC State. We have Miami of Ohio and Wisconsin, Wyoming and Akron, Central Michigan, San Jose State, Georgia Tech, Colorado, UNLV, Sam Houston. And here's the thing. This is for sickos and casuals alike or fans of very specific teams. We're not going to discriminate. If Wyoming and Akron's going to be competitive with a rating difference of 9, we're talking about it. Miami of Ohio, who won the MAC last year, right?
Road game at Wisconsin, but Miami,
according to the index, if it's an upset, we're talking about it right now. You might want to tune in if it's the 4th quarter and it's a 1-point game. They return a lot of their starters, that Miami team, and people are worried about Wisconsin cracking 5 wins. Wisconsin's schedule is the Florida schedule of the Big Ten, by the way. So anyway, these are our games to watch. Leave them right here for you to peek at for a minute. The Georgia Tech Colorado game, that one's just goodness to watch. Those who are high on Georgia Tech like myself really want to see how well they play against Colorado. How good is Colorado post Shador and Travis Hunter? We'll see. It's going to be an exciting one. And then again, if you're a sicko and it's 9:30 Eastern and you want to watch Sam Houston UNLV, I think Sam Houston's going to be good. We couldn't keep them out of this index. They kept creeping up. They were the team we had to push out of the index from 2024. They returned the same quarterback, a lot of the same starters. Sam Houston's going to be good. No one's talking about them, I assure you, in national media.
We'll see where they end up. They got a long way to climb. But, 88, here's the thing. Just something to keep in mind. 88's low, but 88's not crazy low. I think Boise State and Indiana were both in the 70s or 80s in the rating by week 3 of the season last year. You
Yep.
know?
Yep. And what I love about this, again, this is why we need this index. Someone wants to know that the 52nd team is playing the 56th team. There is no poll out there that's going to tell you that. This is why we have it. This is why you need it.
This is
If you're a
top to
sicko,
bottom.
9 p.m. Eastern Thursday, turn it on. It's probably going to be a good one. If teams play to how we think they're going to play. Big if. Okay, the grand finale, week 1, Saturday, the 30th of August. This is the good stuff right here. Ohio State, Texas. Temple, UMass. That's a sicko game. LSU, Clemson. And Utah, UCLA. Something in every window, the 12, 3:30, 7:30, and 11 p.m. We have a game in each slot that
Dude, the
we do
3:30, the 3:30 is my favorite. The fact that Temple UMass is, the fact that it's a game. I'll be honest. The fact that I'm aware of it at all is
Big deal.
to someone.
You want to show off to someone? Say that
roughly the
UMass Temple might be
Philadelphia-
competitive.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. UCLA Utah. That to me is one of the games I'm most excited about. I mean, you got Nico. You got a
Against
Utah,
Utah
I
at
think.
60. They're slept on. They're slept on in this index. I don't want to sleep on it, but they're going to jump if they beat that UCLA team. Continue.
They're gonna jump. I mean, that's all I was gonna say too. The Utah. I think they're almost a playoff dark horse. You cannot bet against Kyle Whittingham. He's so good as a coach.
Yep. Can't do it. I want you to pull up the index scores really quick. LSU and Clemson. I think they're separated by minuscule points. This is our most competitive game on this Saturday, the 30th. 2 rating spots different, but their index scores are even closer or as close, right?
For
What do we have?
Clemson LSU.
Yeah.
Clemson LSU. Again, remember we're on a scale of hundreds
Five.
and we're in the 5,000s. Clemson 52.99. Louisiana State 52.71.
It's so close. That's so close. In that index, that's so close. So that's the one. That's the ticket. And then Texas, Ohio State, if Arch Manning, like we said, is the guy, that one should be really competitive too.
I agree.
Julian Sayin was named the starter today or recently at Ohio State. Recently. And so we'll see. We have 2 new quarterbacks, but 2 juggernauts.
I'm looking forward. Of these games, I genuinely think that LSU Clemson is my favorite, but I think Utah UCLA would be my favorite to watch.
There you go. Well, and Temple UMass is turn it on, take a nap. And then wake up in the 4th quarter if it's close. And I will say that
This is just our warning to say don't bet on Temple UMass. Like don't
Do
think
not.
You know.
no, if anything, this is the stay away froms. We're showing you the stay away froms. Stay away from them. And what else? I was going to say one other thing about this. LSU Clemson. LSU, I think, has lost 5 openers games in a row for the last 5 years.
Make it 6.
It could be 6. And Brian Kelly last year slammed the table, hit the water bottle over. I don't want to see what gets knocked over this year if they do lose in another heartbreaker. I hope not. I don't have a dog in the fight, but that one will be. It'll be great TV. Dabo thanking Jesus or Coach Kelly knocking water bottles over. We got
For what
2
it's worth,
choices.
my
2 choices.
For what it's worth, my takes would be Ohio State, UMass, Clemson, and Utah.
I like LSU, Texas, and Utah. I can't decide. Temple, UMass. Again, I'm
home
not
field
that much of a
advantage.
sicko. I'm not that much of a sicko.
Did I let the model do that? Because it's a vibe for me.
It's a vibe. Well, if it's this close, it's all vibes. Okay, Spencer, week 1 preview in the books. We will be back in 2 weeks to review what happened between week 0 and 1. We will preview week 2. We will continue to do this all year. This is our passion project. If you've made it this far in the video, please comment what you did while you listened the whole time. Dishes, gym, laundry, we need to know.
I mean, if you
Give
made
us a
this far
like.
in the video,
Subscribe.
I'm shooketh, but please subscribe.
Subscribe.
What is it? What is it? I don't do this. I've never made a YouTube video in my life. This is the first one. This is the first one,
First.
Andrew.
First
What did I
one,
say?
let's go.
Like, subscribe, click that alarm bell or something.
Click for notifications. I've never done it, but you should do it. All right, we're signing off.
If we get a certain amount of subscribers to be determined at a later date, we'll make YouTube shorts.
Yeah, maybe. Or we'll do a live. We'll try to do a live, horrible live stream. We will sign off with the same sign off every single week.
Yeah, that's
In
not
God
true.
we trust. In God we trust. All others
bring data.
bring old data. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.